I don't like the way that same face syndrome is dealt with. There, I said it. I don't think that you can cure same face syndrome by building a bunch of different noses, building a bunch of different eyes, and building a bunch of different chins. I say this because I used to be one of those people. I had a whole bunch of different chins, I had a whole bunch of different eyes, and I thought that everyone was different enough. It hadn't occurred to me at the very beginning that I had same face syndrome. It had to be pointed out to me. And after it was pointed out to me, I started pointing at different chin types. I was like, this guy has a different chin. So there, I don't have it. Well, I did, and I didn't. Same face syndrome to me is something more nefarious. It's less of a same face syndrome and more of a feeling of default, a feeling of just like something's wrong in the face, and this wrongness in the face goes through all of your works. Now, that's really vague, and that's my issue with same face syndrome, because maybe it isn't even a same face syndrome. Maybe it's just a symptom of something deeper. And to me, that something deeper is a lack of understanding of how a face is put together. I think a lot of people have developed a face that works. Not a face that would function in reality, but a face that can portray reality in a really good way. And what happens with this face is it becomes very limited. It's limited in the same way that the artist is limited. This face, since it doesn't exist in reality, since it's really just a set of rules, like this is what a nose looks like, it's a little triangle. This is what an eye looks like, anime eyes. This is what a mouth looks like, anime mouth. And because there's no real form to it, there's not much that the face can do. If you turn that face, it will not fall in line perspectively. It will not function. It doesn't have a jaw. It doesn't have a skull. It's a failing of anatomy, is what I'm trying to say. The way that people end up fixing that is saying, oh, your characters all look the same. Why don't you give them different ears, different noses, and different mouths? And they do that. But there's still an issue because the mouth can only turn certain ways because it's only been designed to turn different ways. It's a sticker. It's not a 3D object. The eyes are not a 3D object. They don't turn naturally. What ends up happening is you just have these rules. And I think the rules are what becomes the same face. I think that's where you start feeling like this nagging sensation that everything looks the same, but the chins are different, but the eyes are different, but the rules are the same. These facial cheats are all the same, and I think that's what people are picking up on. So, how do you fix this form of same face syndrome? If we even want to call it that. And I don't think people are ready to address this more nefarious form of same face syndrome. Because I think the cures for same face syndrome really just create even worse versions of this chimera of awfulness. The best way that I think I've been able to kind of describe the way I'm feeling about this is imagine this face that you draw is a cake recipe. It's your vanilla cake recipe. It's a tried and true recipe for you. You can put in all the ingredients and you get the effect you want. Now, you don't have the ability to double this recipe. You don't have the ability to change the ingredients, change the flavors. You don't have any of that because you can only make a cake with this recipe. And when it comes time to make a chocolate cake, instead of being like, oh, okay, I need to learn how my cake works so that I can start creating a chocolate cake, you instead find another recipe. You find another recipe for cake. This time it's a chocolate cake. And now you have a chocolate cake and a vanilla cake. And you can get pretty far by finding recipes. But what you really want, if you're really wanting to be an artist and you're really wanting to like create the full spectrum of cakes, is an understanding of all the elements that make up a cake. You need to understand how noses work. You need to understand how perspective works. You need to understand how character design and how pushing elements works. Otherwise, you're just going to create standardized cakes, and it's going to create the sameness, I think, is what I'm trying to say. The reason I bring all of this up is because I think the whole idea of same face syndrome is damaging to young and beginning artists. I think that it's very easy when you're like 13 to 16 to look at your art and be like, oh no, I have same face syndrome. I need to fix this. Let me find new recipes. Because that's the advice that's being given. And I don't think that learning how to draw different noses is bad advice. The issue comes from people who only know how to create different symbols, learning to create different symbols. The issue is not that your faces are the same, it's that you don't know how to draw a face and you don't know how to push a face. The first step of learning how to draw a face comes first. That's why it's the first step. And I wanted to just say that if you are struggling with same face syndrome, don't worry about it. Don't fixate on the same face. By all means, study different faces, draw everything you see. I definitely agree with that. But start from reality. What's most likely happened is that you're drawing some sort of like anime or something that's inspired you. I go with anime because it's what inspired me and it has inspired a lot of people. But you're trying to extrapolate outward from there when you really need to start understanding life. I know I probably sound like your art teacher who's like, "Oh, stop drawing anime, you jerk." I don't mean it like that. Like, go ahead and draw anime, but also understand life. You are definitely going to come to grips with your same face syndrome at some point, but it's most likely going to be through finding different recipes. But what you really need to focus on, young artist you, is your studies. I don't want you to ignore criticism, but when someone says you have same face syndrome, you can now sort of be like, yes, I do. I have a default face that I am currently able to do. I draw it for fun, but really I am studying how faces work in general. As you can see, the face that I have drawn is not very structurally sound in any meaningful way, and pushing it further in any direction wouldn't be useful to me at the moment. That's all you need. I don't know what to say about this. Now, if you need advice on how to do any of this stuff, I'm probably going to talk about it at some point, but there are hundreds of resources. Thousands. There is so much on art, and you need to know your basics.